What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream and match reaction with myself. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening after a very uneventful game. As always, as Liverpool fans, we have uneventful games. Nothing to be cheering about, unfortunately. I joke. This team is going to put me in a coma at this rate or give me heart attacks. But yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. Another 1-0 win, 3 points in the bag, and we're sitting pretty top of the Premier League. Darwin Nunez at the death, coming straight back from injury and making an impact immediately when he's on the pitch. We look so much better than when he was off the pitch, obviously. Cody Gakpo just couldn't really get things going, but that's not necessarily his fault either. But you see the immediate impact on Nunez straight away, which is absolutely fantastic. So, and we have Dan just joining us there now, so we'll get everybody back on now. So Dan's going to be very happy to join us.
Get it, lads!
Yeah,
I bet you're fuming, aren't you, Arsenal? I bet you're fuming, City. Are you fuming? I bet you're fuming, aren't you?
I absolutely love it. I love it. Just before we get into everything, make sure to like and subscribe, guys. Have your notification bell on for all future videos and streams so that you never miss out on moments like this where Dan comes in screaming into the live stream. It's absolutely beautiful. But no, brilliant game. It was edge of your seat, as if we couldn't have just a normal weekend of football as a Liverpool fan. It
wasn't a brilliant game, Stephen. What are you talking about? There was 98 minutes of pain and 1 minute of pure relief and ecstatic
That's just
feeling.
my Saturday night, man. That's my Saturday night.
Yeah, that's it. Standard, really, isn't it? Yeah, to be honest with you. It's just like real life. I try to escape real life. Football, you should come out there and make it easy for me, please.
And to quote Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso, football is life.
Yes.
So that's the way to look at it. It was a fantastically beautiful performance. Look, it was one of those games where it could have been a bogey game. Forest sat back an awful lot. You could see it. We were trying to break them down, and it just wasn't working. Fortunately, Cody Gakpo isn't the guy for that, but we kind of were short-handed and we had to play him. I have all the faith in the world in Cody Gakpo. I have no problem with him at all. The man has 16 goal contributions this season alone, and he's played 4 different positions, and he's played 2,000 minutes across those positions. So for everybody that had patience about Darwin Nunez and saw a payoff, have the same patience with Cody Gakpo, because clearly it works, because Darwin Nunez, who people slated for so long and have said his finishing is going to cost us the league. Well, it might have just saved us the league today, to be perfectly honest with you, because if City got ahead of us, they may never have turned back. Whereas now we're sitting pretty full 4 points ahead of them at the moment, and the ball is still in our court and we still control our own destiny. But Dan, give me a couple of your thoughts on the game as a whole. You said obviously you didn't really enjoy it. It was 98 minutes of pain and 1 minute of joy. But thoughts on the game itself as a whole? Was there any situations that jumped out to you, or how did you feel about it?
If you want me to be honest, what that game reminded me of, it reminded me of when we played Arsenal. You know, in the last time we lost and we played in the Premier League, we looked at a team who was coming to the end of a run. We were kind of a team at the end of like a group of games. And I was thinking, is this going to be another one that's just too far for us? It's just a little bit too much with everything that we've had to come up against, injuries-wise and games-wise, and just the intensity of the football. And, you know, Liverpool have been Miracles FC on multiple occasions. Let's just add another one today. This is another game which, you know, will be the Devil's Club for, and I'm all for it. Felt like that first half, I said in our group chat, I said it was probably the worst first half of football we've played. Palace first half away was probably very similar, to be honest with you. They're probably in that same bracket. Terrible first half of football. Very, very, very cagey, and very much like a case of we didn't want to make the chance. We didn't want to. We didn't want to go in. We didn't want to be too risky. We didn't want to concede a goal because we knew how much of a threat they were on the counter attack, and they nearly caught us with Alanga and Kelleher did a fantastic job in saving it. Perhaps it was offside. We don't know. We're not going to see the VAR. And, you know, I'll say it. I've said on this channel, I think that Kelleher at points earlier on in the season hadn't played very well at all. And he's been quite poor. But I'm going to come here and say he's proving me wrong. And he's come out there and he's ran with it. He's improved. He's got better. That's all down to him and his personality. And I massively respect that. And he's been absolutely fantastic, and again today played really, really well. Obviously a very disjointed team players playing in different positions. Gomez in the 6, and we have a good laugh in our chat about the 6 position, don't we? In fairness. Oh, we do love it. That's it. I'm already waiting for the summer, and I've already got the meme in my head. You know when in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and they go through the drive-through.
Here we go again.
My one's just going to be I'll have a number 6, a large number 6, a double number 6, and that's it. But we did what we had to do, and to be honest with you, to get our first win away from home since 1985, and to do it that way was just incredible. And what a bounce that gives you going into the biggest game of our season at Anfield next weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And realistically, it was a fantastic. I thought it was a very. We discussed it yesterday in the match preview, and we were saying what's going to be the bogey game, and I said it's going to be a game that we expect to win. It's not going to be City. It's not going to be Spurs. It's not going to be away to Villa at the end of the season. It's not going to be away to United. The bogey game is going to come, and it's going to. And it's going to be a team like Forest that may do it. And if we and I just thought it was absolutely beautifully poetic that it was Darwin Nunez that scores the Divock Origi goal against Divock Origi's team. It's just poetic justice, and I love Divock Origi. Football is nothing. Football without Origi is nothing, in my own opinion. He's one of the legends of Liverpool, in my own opinion, purely from that one Champions League run and what he done for us against Barcelona alone. He should have a statue built outside the stadium, in my opinion. But it was just beautifully poetic that the guy that has been slated since he joined us comes back from injury, has never given up no matter how many shots he takes, scores the 99th minute winner in a Premier League game between us and Forest that we didn't look in. To be honest with you, Forest deserved that draw, if not a win.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say anything about that at all. Forest played an absolutely fantastic game, and it's nice that these games fall our way for once. That the luck falls our way, because Paul Tierney was giving us nothing. That if that's not a penalty on Jayden Danns, I want every single one of our defenders on a set piece in the box to wrap their arms around the opponent and just fall to the ground, because clearly it's not a penalty. But then Virgil van Dijk bodying the fuck out of Yates in front of him is called a foul. And I'm like, okay, but if that's a foul, how's that not a penalty? Because I'm like, maybe if the ball was delivered closer to him, like he had no attempt to play the ball, but he had no chance to get near the ball to attempt to play the ball because some little short boy was absolutely sniffing his jockstrap. But
while you mentioned that, there was something interesting. We're trying to get the referee chat out of the way, because it's fortunately in the previous while we've not had to worry about referees, and today was one of those games where it was like at times I was like, is he trying to let the game flow and let it be a little bit more physical and go, do you know what? Unless it's a foul, I'm not going to give it. No, you're not having that soft one. And it kind of seems to like, again, maybe it's a Liverpool bias. It kind of felt like when we did it, it was a foul. But when they did it, it was like, oh, no play on. And it was like, right, okay, that's a bit unusual. And as you say, like the Jayden Danns situation.
Who was the referee?
Mr. Paul Tierney from Greater Manchester. I mean,
there you go.
You know, this is it. It must be like the Stone Roses whenever they have their PGMOL sort of thing together, don't they? They're all there cutting around with the hats on, going like this. All right, lads. But you know, it wasn't. And the Jayden Danns situation, I'd have said for me, I'd have been absolutely livid if that was a penalty. And I have to be honest. I have to sit there and go, I'd be livid. I can absolutely see what
should, but you can see it should be a penalty. You'd be livid for your defender giving that away, but it needs to be a penalty.
Oh, by the letter of the law, yeah, of course. You know, you're grabbing hold of a player. You're giving no intention to play the ball. You're not, playing what you would say is like a physical game between two players to win the football. He's just grabbing hold of Jayden.
If it's like two hands on chest and you're both bodying each other, fair enough. But he hugs him and falls to the ground.
And that's it. And perhaps this is it where referees and referees look at it and go and say, oh, we don't want to make this decision because we don't want to make it about us, because it's like, it's a case of like, oh, well, this has happened. And it's like, by the letter of law, it probably is a penalty. But what I have to say is, what I absolutely love is we've made some very loose very, very loose sort of like similes of Jayden Danns to a certain Mr. Harry Kane in the way that he plays. And Jayden Danns has come out there and gone full Harry Kane with the shithousery, and he put himself about when he went in on that goalkeeper. That's exactly what I've seen Harry Kane do on multiple occasions when it comes to Andy Robertson when he nearly killed him with that flying tackle that he only got a yellow card in. So I respect that. He come on there, he put himself about, and he became a nuisance. Referee, the less we have to see of Paul Tierney and the likes of that, the better. But penalty perhaps. But if that was a penalty, then Joe Gomez's situation probably should have been a penalty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
I do not care how the game is called. If you are going to call a terrible game, call a terrible game. If you're going to call a physical game, call a physical game. But you need to be consistent. If both of them were given as a penalty, you could see, okay, well, look, he gave the Danns one as a penalty, so by proxy, he has to give the Gomez one as a penalty. He can't do one or the other. Similarly to the foul that happened on Yates, if he's going to give that, well, then he has to give the other two as penalties. It is that simple. It's not just, I'm going to pick and choose when I do it and what you want to do to it. It's just it's infuriating in that sense. Like when I play football or basketball, I'm like, okay, look, call the game however you want. If you're going to miss calls, you're going to miss calls. But at least be consistent about it. I can suffer and stomach a loss on refereeing consistency, even if all the calls are bad and it's done both ways, purely because if it's done both ways, we have nothing to complain about. We did not win within the parameters of those 90-odd minutes. The other team performed better in that particular microcosm. It is as simple as that. And it's a sad thing that we have to be discussing that baldy prick still, purely because even though we won and our heart rates have still yet to come down, it's just not it's not the way we want to see these Premier League games going out, as possibly having it end on a refereeing decision. Thankfully, Darwin Nunez came on and dropped his big balls on the table and basically said, I'm winning this game, I don't care. Took his Michael Jordan movement and said, give me the damn ball, I'm going to score. And it was absolutely glorious. I'm going to get into a couple of statistics here that have come up. This as well, Jamie, is an unsung hero, which is Endo for winning the ball back for the goal. Joe Gomez for winning the corner as well. And obviously, Alexis Mac Allister with an absolutely beautiful cross. And what I'm going to show now is Alexis Mac Allister's actual statistics for that particular game, because it was absolutely beautiful. I'm going to pull it up here now. And we're going to get some editing done here. So we'll take the brand off, and here we go. So Alexis Mac Allister in this game against Nottingham Forest, he had 1 assist, he had 85% passing, he created 6 chances, 88 touches, 8 final third passes, 75% long ball accuracy, tackles 1 of 100%, 2 interceptions and 5 recoveries. Jez, you'd nearly swear he plays the 6, wouldn't you? That CDM role. We won't get into that. We won't make people annoyed about that at all.
Hey, listen, you wait till he goes back there. When we've got 2 8s, that's where it is. Where does he fit? I'm going to ask the question. Szoboszlai should go ahead of him on the RCM, and Jones has got the left side, in my opinion. So I don't know where he fits.
If all 3 are fit, if Endo, Mac Allister, and Szoboszlai
if all 4, put 4 of them fit. Let's say the whole team's fit.
Okay, the whole team's fit.
In our best midfield.
Yes. And I also think with the form that is there currently, I think Endo is there as well.
No, ahead of who though?
Jones. And that's not me trying. Look, I'm the reason I'm saying that is purely because if you watched when Endo came on that pitch, right, it calmed us down massively. The effect that he had on the game, and you even seen it in the Chelsea game on Sunday last week in the final. He covered every blade of grass on that pitch, and that's exactly what you want for as well. Now, am I saying that Alexis Mac Allister? But see, then that's the point, though. If it comes in, let's say we do get a specialized 6 in the summer. I don't think we are, but let's say we do get one, right? Where who gets dropped, because there's only so many minutes that can be played. But see, the thing about it is with how Premier League games are going at the moment, I don't think anybody's going to lose out on minutes, because games are now hitting the 100-minute mark. And it's not now 45 minutes and 45 minutes. It's nearly now 2 50 to 55-minute halves. And you could very, very easily play Jones or Mac Allister. Let's say it's the contention between the two of them, right? Because that seems to be where the ilk of the argument is. Excuse me.
Well, it has to be now, though, doesn't it, Stephen? It has to be, because at one point earlier on in the season, our best midfield, and we can go through this streams and streams of other major channels,
Yeah.
have all said that our best midfield was Dominic Szoboszlai, Alexis Mac Allister, and Curtis Jones. And no
I
one
don't disagree
was
with you.
played. No. And what I'm saying is that obviously things are going really well now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that is better or worse. Do you understand what I mean? Like it's
100%.
you know, if those 3 players are fit, let's say this injury crisis gets in the bin, and we hope that it does, and we have so many choices. My thing is you're going to sit there and look at Curtis Jones has been absolutely fantastic, and I think you can make it's hard to make a case to drop him. It's very difficult to make a case to say that he's not going to be starting the game. And as you rightfully said, and I've said on multiple times when I've hosted the streams as well, that it doesn't necessarily matter if you start, because equally you can get as many minutes by finishing.
Exactly. That's it. But see, as well as that, like it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Yeah.
We played the guts of about 60 games a season at most. At most, it's about 63, I think, is the maximum. So especially now getting back into Champions League next season, barring a total and complete collapse by us in the last 10 weeks of the league. But getting Champions League football next year, then we have the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and the Premier League to compete in going forward. So like it's not like everybody's going to get minutes. It's like, oh, you don't start at the weekend against a particular side. Okay, look, well, we have a Champions League game next week. There you go. You can have that. Like, and it's quite funny that we're here complaining about depth. It's never something we've had to do in the last 3 or 4 years, is complain about depth and who's going to get these minutes. But as I said, I think with the way the Premier League is going and how the games are going itself, of how much added time is being put onto it, you could come on. Darwin Nunez did it today. Came on in the 60th, 70th minute, and then all of a sudden bags the winner. Yeah, very easily can come on and make the same impact.
No, you're absolutely right. And obviously, we've had this chat about Harvey Elliott. Like, where does he fit into our midfield? Like, you know, he has been fantastic. You know, statistically, he's one of the highest performers in the league. He's one of the highest performers in our team. Now, on the eye, you could sit there and say perhaps he doesn't do certain things as well as we would like him to do, or do certain things as we would, you know, kind of expect other players to do. And my that's my only point to it being is at one point many people were having the argument that Endo wasn't good enough for this club. Many people who we could come out there and say they were saying he isn't good enough. They were very unhappy that we signed a player like him. I was very impressed with the fact that we just took our time with him. I looked at the statistics and looked at what he did at Stuttgart, and everything on paper looked good. And it takes a while to see whether or not that moves over to a different league, and B, from the bottom of the league, sort of relegation struggling Bundesliga team in Stuttgart, respectfully to them, to come into a Liverpool team who is on 4 fronts, looking at winning trophies, and every game has to be a win. You know, there's no expectation of, a draw will do. And he's done brilliantly, and he's got into this team, and that's the thing. But we're hoping that continues. We're hoping that vein of performance comes with all players, but it might not. There might be times where it'll drop away and it might come away, and it might mean that we're going to have to rotate. I'm honestly of the belief that when it comes to like where Alexis Mac Allister's role is in our team, I'm still very much of the opinion that they bought him and they bought a number of other players because they are adaptable. Because we're so used to, as Liverpool fans, our front three used to pick itself and our midfield used to pick itself. It used to be dead easy. To be honest with you couldn't do a prediction for the lineup because you could pick it anyway, because we had an 11 that always started and then we had substitutes. Where now Liverpool have such an abundance of riches, not just in the midfield, but up front, in defence, where we can go, Bradley can come in for Trent. You know, when Gakpo finally gets himself back in out of his identity crisis, he can end up becoming and being a 9. He can play on the left. So I just feel that genuinely when it comes to Mac Allister, my argument from him is I still believe when everyone's fit and everyone will at some point be in veins of form, he's going to have to be the one who's going to be the more likely to move positions, because Szoboszlai won't play in the 6 because he can't. As much as people want to think he will, he hasn't experience of it. Where Endo can't play in the 8. However, Alexis Mac Allister, for me, is the only one who can play both, and he can play both very, very well.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with it at all. It's like a positionless midfield, which is beautiful to see because we have multiple players that can play multiple positions, and it's great to watch. But for me myself, I think our strongest midfield is Endo, who's a very much defensive-minded player, and I agreeing with Damon in a way that it's like Mac Allister is very much an attacking player, but he can also be very, very good defensively. He's a fantastic sort of a in between. He's like a 6.5 to an 8. He's like a 7.5, if you want to call it that, or it's like a 7 if you were to put him between a 6 and an 8. But it's absolutely fantastic to watch him because he can control a game. But it's one of them things that it was just being a Liverpool fan is genuinely going to make me die 10 years younger, and I said that so many times at this rate. But just the game itself. It's games like this that win you Premier Leagues. Like gritty, you're not supposed to win this game. You're supposed to either draw or lose this game, and then we come out and bag a last-minute winner. It seems to be that type of way for the whole season, and how certain games have gone, like the Chelsea game last Sunday, the Southampton game. Like we didn't look at the races at all, and then come out the second half, different team, and we've 2 18-year-olds bagging 3 goals. It's Klopp's kids did it again at midweek, and then Klopp's baby Nunez comes in and does it again today. It's contributions from every part of it, and it's beautiful.
And that's what's important, though, isn't it, Stephen? That's the thing, and I think that's where it comes from with the argument that I've been making about the fact is that we're not as rigid as we used to be. Like to say that Endo starts 38 games a season if everyone's fit and everyone's form. It depends on who we're playing, in my opinion. There'll be games in which we won't need his major skill, which is basically being that covering 6, being a 6, he does have abilities of playing some very good forward passes, to be fair, and I think he's played some really good football as in an attacking sense, and he always tries to be as positive as he can be when he does. But I look back on games like, for example, very much earlier in the season when we played West Ham, Alexis Mac Allister got an assist. It was actually his first assist for Darwin Nunez, and that came from that position. If we look back to the first game of the season when we played against Chelsea, the pass that was played out from Alexis Mac Allister, which was the pre-assist as we were to go out there, was absolutely fantastic. He played that out to Salah for our first goal against for Diaz. Again, it was something that we'd lacked and something that we'd missed from our midfield, and I think that was what was quite surprising. Well, for me, it stood out because we didn't have these passes of the ball in our midfield. We had a lot of workmen, a lot of people who could run around and do a lot of the hard work and carry the piano. And then we brought in players like Alexis Mac Allister and Dominic Szoboszlai, who are, absolutely fantastic with the ball. They're players who can have a massive range of passing. And they've also shown that their ability to do the hard work as well, which is something I've been really impressed. And I mean, that's it. So I was very impressed with the way he played this game. He is an absolute steal, an absolute bargain at the price that we bought him for £35 million. I mean, in today's market, what could he be worth in the way that he's contributed to us at this team? I look at Darwin Nunez coming on there again, another player who's been constantly bombarded and compared and said he's not good enough, and they got all the stats out and they made all these situations. And the biggest respect that I have to him, and this is something everyone should have, he just doesn't listen. He just doesn't listen to any of it, and he just keeps doing what he's doing. And today, that's the mentality. I'm going to keep trying until that final whistle comes on. And that header, he's there. He makes it happen. Is it the best goal he'll ever score? No. But is it probably one of the most important? Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Never give up asking here. Endo, Mac, and who against City? Szoboszlai, in my opinion, because Jones isn't back until after the international break. Yeah, that's a very, very strong midfield. That's a very strong midfield. Hopefully Salah's back. I think he will be. To be honest, if this was a Champions League final or a Europa League final today, he'd have played. But I think it's more so just leave him for a week and let him rest. But looking at Twitter here, we see again, obviously, Virgil van Dijk. 94% passing, 103 touches, 19 final third passes for a centre back, 75% long ball accuracy, 1 block, 3 clearances, 2 recoveries. Oh, jeez, there's more. No, it's not just the aerials, and 3 aerials, 1. He's the first play. He's one of 2 players in the last. He's one of 4 players in the last 6 seasons to have 100, 100, 100, 100, which is 100 duels won, 100 aerial duels won, 100 recoveries, and 100 clearances. He's one of 4 players. The other 3 players are Virgil van Dijk, and Virgil van Dijk.
Stephen, this is the question for you and the question for everyone in the chat. Is this the best Virgil van Dijk's ever been?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, well,
why?
He's been dribbled past once. So that's probably, he was never dribbled past when he went for the Ballon d'Or. So.
Yeah, until Nicolas Pepe did it, and Arsenal went on for about 6 months about it.
Exactly. Do I think this is the best Virgil van Dijk we've seen? No, I don't think it is, but that's just saying that the Virgil van Dijk in 2019, as Paul mentions here, he was otherworldly. You had guys that were 1-on-1 against him and just gave up. You had guys that were 2-on-1 against him and he could take 3-on-1. And it was he was just otherworldly. And that's not a knock on how he's performing this season, because it's like comparing Superman to Batman, so to speak, if that makes sense. Superman is untouchable in whatever realm he is. He can fly, he's invincible, whatever have you, unless it's kryptonite. And then you take a look at Batman, who's a mere mortal, if that makes sense. Like, we thought Virgil van Dijk was a god until he got the knee injury, and then we realized this man is mortal. But just because he's a mortal man doesn't mean he can't perform like he's not, and that's what he's doing at the moment. I don't think he's better than 2019, but that's like comparing apples to oranges. I
actually think this is the best Virgil van Dijk we've ever seen. I think he's taken the captaincy, and there's something about what he's brought to this team that what you've all just mentioned there, absolutely valid, completely agree with it. Like, you know, they could be 2-on-1, 3-on-1, and I'd see Virgil van Dijk, and my heart rate wouldn't rise, because I'd be like, it's all right, Virgil van Dijk's there. And I still feel that way, to be honest with you. I still feel that way ever since we started this season. I never felt like last season when they were going, oh, well, he's not recovered fully from his injury and is this, that, and the other. No, we were just terrible as a team. As a team, we weren't very good. Of course, when you've got no midfield like we didn't have, and they were getting ran through constantly, of course they were going to take chance. They were going to get chances put on them, and the more chances they get put on them, the less protection they get, and the more goals they're going to concede. I look at this year. I look at the way that he is as a leader, the what he's brought to us as a team. I think he's taken that captaincy, and the numbers he's putting up are right there. They're right exactly where they should be.
Yeah,
but it's also what he's also bringing, just is in a holistic manner, and it's hard to statistically put that into place and say that, but you can see it. There's this belief you see. He comes out there, plays midweek on Wednesday with literal children who need to be picked up by their mum and dad because they can't get home because they don't have a car, and he's out there, and you know, he's putting that belief into these players. He goes out into the League Cup final and he wins it for us. You know, he's there with that header. And I do genuinely feel like we are there. But again, to say he's better, I mean, he's probably the best we've ever seen. So it's very difficult for us to sit there and then compare the two. But I'm so pleased for him, because he's deserved so much more in this tenure, in the period that he's given to us as a club. Yeah. And as a player, he's deserved more trophies, and I hope we win some more.
I do too. And somebody that's been a bit of an unsung hero that's received an awful lot of slate in the past while, and it's been mentioned a couple here. First of all, by Matt Jones, but Virgil and Kelleher being unbelievable. And then we also have Hashashin here. Hashashin me. That's a great name. Don't forget Kelleher's saves today. Caoimhín Kelleher, the past couple of games, has just been monstrous. And it's almost as if he's Alison Becker's long lost Irish son, which is he just needs to grow a beard, and he just looked like a blonde Alison, which is great. Like, and this is just, it's such a sweet victory for me, being an Irishman and seeing my fellow countrymen performing this well, because I think he deserves Ireland's number one spot as their number one keeper. But Gavin Bazunu has that because he plays regular football. And what's funny about that is he's twice the player Gavin Bazunu is. That's just my own opinion on it. It's not to say that Bazunu is a bad player. He's a championship player, which is what he is. Whereas Caoimhín Kelleher would start for multiple maybe 10 to 12 Premier League teams right now if you ask them tomorrow. Forest were already looking. He would start for Arsenal because Arsenal even have 2 keepers and he's better than the 2 of them. He'd start for United. He'd start for Chelsea. He wouldn't start for City. I get that one. Look, Ederson is Ederson. But even he's massively overrated and inflated. And then you also have, I'm trying to think who else. Like he'd start for Luton. He'd start for Sheffield. He'd start for Forest. Forest actually tried to buy him 20 million, and we told him jog on. There's plenty.
I'm not surprised we told them to jog on because
exactly.
I was all of the opinion to sit there and say perhaps would be the time for us to move on, because sometimes when you are a second choice goalkeeper, and unfortunately you are behind the best goalkeeper to have ever played for the club in the Premier League era at the very least, perhaps in the entirety of the history of it, that maybe is the right time for him to move on. And when we're seeing goalkeepers who aren't as good, in my opinion, like David Raya, like Aaron Ramsdale moving for 30 million plus. Well, Kevin Kelleher has proven that he's more than capable of playing first team football for Liverpool. And the only reason that he doesn't is because the goalkeeper ahead of him is probably the best on the planet right now. So, yeah, you're right, 20 million quid. It's not enough. And I'm surprised clubs like Brentford weren't knocking on the door. Nottingham Forest weren't putting the price in there. There's probably what it was worth. And to be fair, I think if the price had come in, I think he would have gone, because I think he deserves to play first team football if that's what he so wants.
That's exactly it. And obviously we've seen Matt Jones mentioned there in the chat as well that Celtic need a goalkeeper in the summer. Celtic were interested, but they don't think they can afford him.
Not at his price tag. No way.
And this was one that I called as a dark horse. The Bayern team, replacing Neuer in that Bayern team. That's something that I called about a week ago, and people called me nuts for that. But it's gained a little bit of traction on the Twitter rumors lately of Neuer hitting the twilight of his career and maybe bowing out. And with Bayern getting a new manager, and I called it last week as well after the Carabao Cup win that Kelleher is right-footed, in case anybody didn't know, and he's out here pinging passes left and right with both feet as if it's nothing to him. And even under pressure, where the Nottingham Forest forward, I don't know who it was. I'm not sure if it was.
It was Elanga who closed him down, and he was just missed the call, wasn't he?
Yeah, just he seen him coming. And he was like, "All right, you're here, sound," and then just tapped the ball along. Like, it was beautiful to watch. But just looking at this Alexis Mac Allister quote here, in that moment I knew it was the last minute. I just had to put it in the box, and then Darwin did the rest. As always, he's an important player for us. He's back, and we're so happy. I am so happy that he's back as well, because my God, I called it when he came on. I was like, chaos ball, here we go. It's absolutely beautiful to watch, and just.
But that's what we lacked, though. I think that's what we lacked up until when he came on. Diaz was doing bits and pieces, but we just felt like we were really blunt going forward. Nottingham Forest, absolute respect to them for anyone obviously who is watching from that side of the game. I thought that they played brilliantly. I thought they were defensively very astute. I thought they were well drilled. I thought they really kind of came out to play their football, which was the right way, which was to defend deep, win the ball and try and counter us with the pace, and it nearly caught us, and they were brilliant. And again, it does go to show, and that age-old cliche that it's not over until it's over. And Mac Allister sums it up perfectly, that he doesn't know what time the game is, because you just don't, but he knows I'm in a position here where I need to put this at the back stick, and Nunez knows this. And I think it's a credit to what we see on social media and some of the stuff the club puts out in his media, where they say like, oh look, you know how much fun they're having. I genuinely think they do. I genuinely think that these lads have got this real connection and real sort of community that we've built, which we kind of made laughs about with, in the past with Firmino and Coutinho and Alisson, and, going around for a barbecue and stuff like that. But, that is really important to see lads like Nunez come in there, get that goal. It's the new boy coming in, Mac Allister, to give us to another relatively new lad. And this, where in the past we'll be relying on a certain Mr. Mohamed Salah, who somehow still we've not missed yet. That's incredible to say, that we'd be here in March and we're still only to have lost the one football match without Mohamed Salah, which is wild, to be honest with you. I don't think any of us could have wished for more.
Funny statistic for you: we win 85% of our games that Mo Salah doesn't play.
Get rid of him then. Come on, get him out.
200 million quid. Thank you very much. We win
200 million, goodbye.
When he's gone on international duty, or when he's been hurt, or when he's been ill, or whatever it may be, we win 85% of our games without him, should I say? Which is hilarious, but considering how much people step up, we had Diogo Jota step up massively, and Darwin Nunez step up massively in his absence when he was at AFCON. And then obviously when he's due to come back, Jones goes down injured, and Darwin steps up and bags a couple here and there, and it's just the goals are coming from everywhere, and it's great.
Yeah.
Paul here is mentioning how he's cheering for Man United for tomorrow. Hopefully they'll get a draw or a win. And he feels dirty for doing it. It's okay. I'd imagine United fans feel dirty for supporting their own team as well.
It's going to be a cricket score, that, I'm afraid.
I think so as well. But
he faced 20 plus shots a game or something ridiculous.
They face somewhat near the most shots per game. So they face about 20 shots a game, and their expected goals is just fucking ridiculous off those shots. But something that's been mentioned here is Cody Gakpo, and I mentioned this at the start of the stream, Matt. I don't know if you were here at the start of it, but the man has played 4 positions so far, and I understand your point saying that he thought he'd be first choice through the middle this season. He's 3rd choice through the middle and 5th choice overall. I don't necessarily think he's 5th choice overall. I think he's a left winger, and he's currently been played out of position in both the centre forward position, the striker position, and he's also played in midfield, and he's played across that front 3. I think his best position is the left winger position. That's where currently Luis Diaz is. I get the feeling, and maybe this will be the shock of the summer, I feel that Luis Diaz will move on in the summer. And that's not anything to say that we don't want him. I just think that with everything that's happened with his dad, his parents, and everything back home, I think he'd rather move to a Spanish-speaking country where his parents will be able to, live, if that's so to speak. So I think he might move to Spain, and that might be where he might go. Like Barcelona were interested in wingers. There's plenty of Spanish teams that could very easily get him, but Barcelona would have to sell 3 kidneys and out of the 2 that they may have left before they can actually buy anybody, because they need to reduce their wage bill by about 200 million euro a year. So you can see an awful lot of people being sold from there. Same with Madrid and getting Mbappe with 150 million euro sign-on fee. I can see they're gonna cut some losses as well, with maybe some young talent that they can get pure profit for. So there might be some decent deals going this summer for some good players.
There's a big question, isn't there, about obviously when the new manager comes in, whoever that person is. Of course, we all have our own opinions on who we want it to be. We have our own opinions on who we think it might be, of course.
Yeah.
Now, that does leave the question, doesn't it, as to who is going to be technically surplus to requirements. There might be players who they won't need, or they won't think they're going to be able to do a job for them, because they're not going to just come in there and go, thanks for Jurgen's team, I'm going to keep you. They're going to bring their own players in. And that's right. That's, of course, the right thing for them to do. I do agree with you. I think Luis Diaz, I've loved Luis Diaz, and I felt his impact when he came into us on obviously the 21-22 season. He was massively important to us in kind of that 6 months up until the end of the season. His knee injury was a big problem, of course. It was a difficulty for him. I was very critical of him earlier in the season. Forget the issue with his mum and dad. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But after that had been dealt with, after that, his dad's at the, literally at the game, at the crowd, time for, okay, professionalism now. We can calm now. Everyone's okay. I can concentrate on my football. He just wasn't. He's not been standing people up like he used to. He's not been doing what a winger that we're used to, or what kind of any winger should be doing. And he's obviously changed his game up a little bit, where he's been able to get goals, and he's added some goals to his games. He's on 9 goals, isn't he? He's on 9 goals this season.
Something like that, yeah. But see, the thing about it is, though, there's multiple Liverpool players. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them on 10 plus goals this season, which is absolutely nuts. Like, Paul mentioned the comment here in relation to Lucho. Lucho and Salah leaves, and Rafael Leao and Bakayoko come in, net 50 million. Would you take that? I would bite your hand off for that. Are you joking me?
And 50 million quid.
And 50 million quid profit on that. Are you joking me? I don't think we'll be getting in a left winger, because I think that's where Cody Gakpo may go. And it's Ollie Watkins.
John Henry will love you.
Goal. He is indeed. Ollie Watkins is after scoring a goal, and he's in my fantasy Premier League team, and that's absolutely fantastic. Aston Villa are 1-0 up against Luton. That's a beautiful goal, actually. Jesus, he rose up very well there. Jesus, head and shoulders above everybody. He's a big dude, him. But yeah,
it's going to be a big question. I think you're absolutely right about where Gakpo's best position is, and he's even said in interviews actually for the club, he said his best position is out on the left. He said that's where he wants to play, and probably the best piece of football. And again, I don't want to turn this into like a bash Cody Gakpo because it wasn't a great performance, and that's just the end of it. It really wasn't a good performance from him. But the best piece of football that I actually saw was for the very brief moment he was out on the left and he picked the ball up and drove, at that box, and I think he got a pass out, out to somebody, and I noted immediately. I said that is the most positive thing we've seen from him all game.
I love it's Lewis. Speaking of Lewis Diaz, there's his old fella.
I was going to say, is he on the train somewhere drinking mojitos out of the can or something after the game? Oh, mate, he's become a character in himself. But no, I think I think Luis Diaz moving on is the most likely of outcomes of any player. But again, that can be difficult to say because we just don't know until we know who the next person is, and we can sit there and start theorizing as to what lineups might be and who sits where and who fits where. We won't really know, and it might even depend on who makes those requests. Perhaps, as you say, maybe they do request to move and say, "Do you know what? I've done my time here. I've really enjoyed it, but now's time for an opportunity to go and play somewhere else." And if
the only reason I think that with Lewis is purely just fresh start. Like he's had the knee injury, he's come back. He hasn't necessarily hit the ground running very quickly. He then had a good spell of form where we were scoring and assisting and performing very well, and then. Excuse me, situation with his dad and his mom happens, and then they find the mom and he comes back and he scores the equalizer against Luton in Kenilworth Road, which was just probably one of the most emotional games and emotional goals he'll ever score. And then his dad comes back, he brings his dad and his parents over with him. His dad is at every game now as a character within himself.
Where's he getting the credit from? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Who's getting him them fucking hospital?
Where's he getting them tickets? Away games.
But it is one of them that I just feel it might be time for a fresh start. And that's not saying that I don't want him. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's 27. We've Cody Gakpo, who's there, who's 3 to 4 years younger than him. That his best position is the left wing. I think he could go out there. If we had a front three of Gakpo, Nunez and Salah up front, and then you could always interchange Nunez and Gakpo or Nunez and Salah, and you could have a very fluid front three with that. But again, all these questions are absolutely null and void until we get a new manager in and announced, which hopefully, according to sources that are across Twitter and our sources ourselves, is that we will have the sporting director, or if anybody noticed, whose farewell letter had been removed from the website.
Not Big Michael.
Big Michael Edwards' his farewell letter was removed from the website, so I let everybody put their tinfoil hats on, considering that they're in talks. But it's been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano and many other reputable sources, if you want to call him reputable for being a Chelsea merchant. But many other reputable sources that it's a big time in March for Liverpool's back office and admin staff, that being manager, sporting director. Liverpool CEO has moved on to FSG International CEO. It says it won't affect his day-to-day as Liverpool CEO, but you very well may see somebody get put into a position on a very similar level to that might be the sporting director. Fingers crossed it's Michael Edwards, because if we get Michael Edwards and Xabi Alonso in the same month, I think I will die. And you genuinely may as well just hand us the next Premier League title, because if you give Michael Edwards
to Stephen, unfortunately, he's not been able to make it because of the positive news we've received. He's died.
It's just I'm dying. That's the way I look at it. But we're coming up on 45 minutes now, guys. Dan, thank you so much for joining me on this post-game stream where our heart rate has hopefully come down a little bit since when we started. But guys, thank you so much for all of the comments, all of the feedback, all of everything, all of the interactions that we have. It's absolutely beautiful. We really much appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have, thank you so much. It really helps the channel. If you also could, make sure that you have all of your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out. Richie will be live with you guys at 7:30 this evening, and then we will also have another stream tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. UK time. All streams are in UK time, so make sure you don't miss out and have your notification bell on. But from myself and from Dan, thank you guys so much for watching, and up the Reds, we're still top of the league.